The film begins with a man named Ray receiving an official notice congratulating him for being accepted into a deadly competition known as the Long Walk. The entire country is prepared to watch the event live, and the prize promises more than money, fame, fortune, and even a wish granted for the last man standing. Soon, Ray prepares to depart with his mother by his side. As they travel, the dark state of the world is revealed. Years ago, a devastating war destroyed the nation, leaving cities in ruins and families struggling to survive. For many, the Long Walk is the only chance to escape poverty, but only 50 young people are chosen each year. Ray's mother, terrified of losing her son, begs him to change his mind, but he refuses, stating that he needs to try. Upon arriving at the destination, she hugs him tightly, but he promises to return and departs. Next, Ray meets another competitor named Peter McVice. They quickly become friends and join other walkers, including Hank, Baker, Stebbins, and Curly, the youngest of them. Eventually, the person responsible for the event, known only as the Major, makes his appearance. He calls the names of the participants one by one. Each boy introduces himself, accepts a metal tag, and returns to his place. When all 50 are present, the Major addresses them and reminds them that the nation has never fully recovered from the war. The cities are destroyed, the industry is weak, and the people are restless. However, each year, the Long Walk generates excitement, lifting spirits and restoring a sense of order. According to him, the real problem of the country is not poverty, but laziness, which is why this competition exists, to teach that discipline and resilience are essential for survival. After the speech, he explains the rules in detail. Each participant must maintain a minimum speed of 3 miles per hour. If one of them slows down, they will receive a warning. A second mistake will result in another warning. On the third, they will be in trouble, and if they fail again, they will be eliminated without return. There is no finish line, no stops, just one survivor. With this, the Major raises his weapon and shoots into the air, signaling the start of the walk. The 50 boys then move forward, accompanied by trucks full of armed soldiers. Ray observes how the landscape appears desolate, and a competitor named Barkovich explains that the Major does not allow crowds until later, although locals can watch from the roadside. Cameras are everywhere, capturing every step for the viewers at home. Upon reaching the 7-mile mark, the walkers begin to discuss the grand prize. Baker reveals that his only motivation is the money, but Ray disagrees, saying that wealth is not the only reason worth fighting for. Soon after, another competitor named Harkness appears, carrying a small notebook. He carefully records the name and number of everyone, revealing that he is writing a book about the Long Walk. If he survives, it will make him rich and famous, but Peter points out that if Harkness wins, he won't need the book to be remembered. Meanwhile, Curly, the youngest, begins to stumble. Pain runs through his legs, and he can barely stay on his feet. Ray grabs his arm to keep him moving while Peter offers words of encouragement, but Curly is so worn down by the pain that he soon collapses on the road. When he still does not get up after 3 warnings, a soldier approaches and brutally finishes him off with a shot. The sight horrifies Ray enough to slow down, prompting another soldier to give him a warning as well. However, before anything worse happens, Peter quickly pulls him onward. The Major announces the boy's death and tells everyone to keep moving since more deaths are on the way. After covering more distance, the group reaches the 17-mile mark. Ray admits that he has been exhausted for some time and does not know how much longer he can push himself. But Peter advises him not to think about the end and to take it one moment at a time. As the hours pass, Ray, Peter, Hank, and Baker grow closer and form a strong bond. But just when everything seems okay, the heat and exhaustion overwhelm competitor number 1. His body gives out, and he collapses in convulsions on the road. Some walkers worry about him, but Barkovich laughs and mocks the boy's suffering. The soldiers issue the warnings, and when the boy does not recover, he is executed. Strangely, Barkovich celebrates the death, claiming everyone should be happy because it improves their chances of winning. When they reach the 25-mile mark, Barkovich turns to a boy named Rank. First, he mocks the boy's name. Then he crosses the line and insults his mother. Rank loses his patience and attacks Barkovich, but misses the swing and falls awkwardly. The others shout for him to get up, but he cannot do it in time, and soon the soldiers take him down. The scene leaves Ray and Peter furious, and they accuse Barkovich of murder. But the psychopath insists it's not his fault since he never touched the boy. Soon after, another competitor becomes desperate to relieve himself. He cannot keep walking and slows down. The soldiers begin to warn him, and when he does not move, he is shot in humiliation while wetting himself in front of everyone. Night finally falls, and the boys are running purely on willpower. Ray starts to ramble and even dreams about his mother, but Peter shakes him and tells him to stay focused. Ray confesses how much he misses her, and Peter tries to calm him down, saying he will see her again soon. As the hours pass, Ray slows down without realizing it and receives a second warning. Soon after, he stumbles again and receives the third. It is revealed that 3 warnings can only be nullified if a competitor keeps moving without errors for 3 complete hours. Peter tries to help and encourage him, but Ray responds angrily, accusing him of pretending to care. He claims that Peter secretly wants him to collapse to increase his own chances of winning. The walkers soon face a steep hill, and the climb results in death for several of them who slow down too much and are executed on the spot. Ray pushes with all his strength, but nearly gives up halfway. In that moment, Peter grabs him and stabilizes him, asking him not to stop. Ray feels touched and apologizes for having yelled before, saying he did not mean to offend him. Peter tells him not to worry and helps him catch his breath. The next day, the group has already covered 59 miles, and Ray begins to give in again, asking Peter to keep talking so he does not lose focus. Ray then admits that he wants to win, not just to survive, but also because he feels he has a greater purpose. Around the 67-mile mark, Hank is struggling, taking weak, shaky steps. Even as Peter tries to check on him, Hank just responds with insults before moving on. Harkness, on the other hand, is in a worse situation. His ankle is twisted, and he fights to keep up. He receives a warning for slowing down, and Ray tries to encourage him, but his body completely fails him. With no more warnings, he is executed by the soldiers. Ray and Peter are devastated by his death, but Barkovich mocks them, suggesting they write a poem or song in honor of their friend. Peter loses his patience and again calls him a murderer, provoking a new heated exchange. When the group finally reaches the 100-mile mark, the major congratulates everyone for holding out so long, but the moment is interrupted when a desperate boy runs toward a nearby building, hoping to escape. He is shot down before reaching the door. Upon reaching 103 miles, the surviving boys begin to discuss what they would wish for if they won. Baker says he would wish for a rocket to go to the moon, while Hank playfully declares he wants 10 women, and Peter jokes that he wants 2 winners instead of just 1. When it's Ray's turn, he says he wishes to change the entire system. The others immediately counter, saying it's impossible, as wishes cannot alter reality. Driven by frustration, the group begins to shout and curse the major and the long walk. That night, it rains heavily, soaking everyone. Ray struggles to keep his eyes open, so Peter allows him to lean on his shoulder to rest for a moment while they keep marching. When the third day begins, they have already crossed 144 miles, and their condition deteriorates rapidly. In a rare moment of calm, Ray opens up to Peter about his past. He explains that his father used to teach him philosophy, music, and other subjects that were prohibited by the authorities. The government viewed these lessons as treason. One day, the major confronted his father, demanding that he swear loyalty to the state and abandon the forbidden lessons. His father refused and was executed. Ray reveals that the real reason he joined the Long Walk is to kill the major and avenge his father's death. If he wins, he plans to wish for a rifle as a prize and use it against the man who executed his father. As they reach 170 miles, the brutality of the event only increases. A walker, completely exhausted, approaches the soldiers and begs for help. The soldiers respond by attacking and crushing him under a tank. Soon after, another competitor loses his mind, stripping and wandering in the wrong direction. The soldiers open fire and kill him without hesitation. Later that night, after walking 201 miles, Stevens approaches Ray with grim news. Hank is about to pass out. Ray rushes to encourage him, but Hank steps aside and calmly approaches the soldiers. He is executed without delay, leaving the group in shock. Baker, unable to contain himself, breaks formation and tries to reach his friend, but the soldiers quickly issue warnings. Ray, seeing his friend endanger himself, runs to him. Ray grabs him and drags him forward, shouting that Hank is gone and that nothing more can be done. The next day begins, and the group has now passed 209 miles. The only survivors now are Ray, Peter, Barkovich, Stevens, Baker, and Parker. When they realize that Hank was the only one among them who had a wife waiting for his return, they agree that the winner must ensure she receives the prize. No one asks Barkovich to contribute, which clearly isolates him. Feeling excluded, Barkovich approaches Ray and admits that he feels guilty for Rank's death. He apologizes and wants to be accepted into the group. Ray agrees, but soon Barkovich begins to act strangely. His mind starts to unravel, and in a shocking gesture, he lunges forward and stabs himself in the neck. The soldiers quickly eliminate him as the others, deeply shaken, have no choice but to keep walking. That night, the exhausted group begins to sing together to lift their spirits and keep moving. On the fifth day, they have already reached 278 miles, and the route now passes through the city where Ray's mother lives. Parker notes that Ray is lucky to see his mother again, but Peter insists it is a curse, as it will only make things harder for him. Upon reaching 286 miles, they finally arrive at Ray's hometown. One of Ray's boots tears, and Baker advises him to take off both shoes, warning that uneven steps will exhaust him even more. Soon, Ray spots his mother in the crowd. At first, he waves from afar, but unable to contain his emotion, he runs to her and pleads for a hug. This impulsive act results in repeated warnings, and his mother begs him to stay away before he is killed. Just as the soldiers prepare to shoot, Peter pulls Ray back into line, forcing him to continue and saving him from certain death. After passing through Ray's hometown, Peter finally opens up about his own painful past. He tells Ray that he has been walking for as long as he can remember since he lost his parents in the war. After that, he was taken in by an uncle who beat him to death when Peter was only 10 years old. Alone, he joined other street boys and survived by stealing and fighting. A fight ended badly when a boy cut him with a knife, leaving a scar. He woke up in a hospital afterward. However, instead of blaming the attacker, he blamed himself. Since that day, he vowed that no matter how dark things became, he would always try to find the light. He explains that if he wins, he wants to use the prize to help orphaned children like himself, which deeply moves Ray. Upon reaching 306 miles, Stevens warns the group that no one should help anyone anymore. Everyone agrees, although it seems cold and cruel. Soon, Baker's nose starts to bleed significantly, but no one intervenes due to the rule. Then, Parker loses control. He lunges at a soldier, grabs his rifle, and kills him on the spot. Parker commits an unimaginable act, leaving his friends horrified. That night, Baker's nosebleed worsens, and Peter and Ray break the rule to help him, but Baker knows he won't make it. He hands them a medallion and asks them to give it to his grandmother if they manage to survive. He also asks them to promise not to look back when he is executed. They try to keep Baker moving, but he refuses. His body fails, and the soldiers brutally finish him off. As night falls, the walk reaches 326 miles. Only Ray, Peter, and Stevens remain, crossing a long bridge under the Major's watchful eye. Ray becomes agitated and begins to shout insults at the Major, but the old man only smiles, claiming that this anger is exactly the kind of killer instinct he seeks in a winner. It is at this moment that Stevens reveals the truth. He is, in fact, the illegitimate son of the Major. He says that his wish was to live in his father's house, but now his body is failing. He bids farewell to Peter and Ray, wishing them luck before stopping and allowing the soldiers to shoot him down. Now, only Ray and Peter remain. The rain falls as they march side by side. Peter admits that, as a child, he was very afraid of dying. But after seeing so many boys die, he realized that death is the only certainty in life, and the only thing one can choose is how to face it. Upon reaching 331 miles, they enter a city where the crowds cheer anxiously, eager to know which of them will survive. Peter suddenly stops and says he wants to give up so Ray can win and return to his mother. But Ray refuses and insists that Peter keep walking, promising that they will stick together. Peter takes a few more steps, not realizing that Ray has indeed stopped behind him. With 3 accumulated warnings, Ray is immediately shot. The soldier's bullets wound him, and the major personally fires the final shot. When Peter realizes what has happened, he collapses in tears as the crowd celebrates his so-called victory. The major then approaches and congratulates Peter for becoming the winner of the long walk. He asks what Peter's wish will be. Struggling to maintain his composure, Peter asks for a rifle, saying he wants to pass it down to his future children as a symbol. The soldiers hesitate to hand it over, but the major insists, claiming that Peter won't hurt anyone because he is a man who wants to make the world better. As Peter takes the weapon, he raises it and directly aims it at the major. The old man tries to calm him, asking him not to waste his victory, but Peter, overtaken by pain, says this is for Ray, before pulling the trigger and instantly killing the major. The film ends with Peter dropping the weapon and walking away alone in the rain.